So this experience here is all about the journey. And sometimes we think we're fools for taking this on, right? With the challenges we face here, it's not without its challenges. But the tarot deck, I've only studied it a little bit. The fool is out to explore the world, to gain the world. And he steps off that cliff. And there are 78 cards, I think, am I right? 78 cards in a tarot deck. So you could pull any card at any one time. I've never done a spread, but like I said, the guides will say pull a card. And one day, that Norse god Odin dropped in on me unexpectedly in meditation. I knew who he was. Once you meet somebody, you recognize their personality, right? Their power. And he said, pull a card. You will pull the Hierophant. He was so clear. He is so powerful. I knew in that moment I would pull down my deck of tarot cards from over the bed in the RV. I would spread them out, and out of 78 cards, I knew I would pull the Hierophant. Even so, when I turned it over and saw the Hierophant, I went, because it was stunning. And I came out of the bedroom in the bus, the kitchen's right there, my husband said, what happened this morning? It's like always something, right, with me. And I told them what happened, and Odin told me to pull a card. My husband's like, yes, dear. He's used to these things. So I don't know, maybe 3 months later, I'm having one of those conversations with Joy, Source. And I heard, pull a card. You will pull the Emperor. And I thought, wow, going to happen again. So I got the cards down and I laid them out and I thought, God, that was so magical that first time. But if it doesn't happen this time, will that invalidate what happened before? Was it just chance? Okay, I'm going to trust. And I turned over the card, and it was this one, the Nine of Swords. What a totally appropriate card. I was familiar with this one because somebody had recently asked me to get some advice for them, and very uncharacteristically, I heard pull a card, and I pulled that one. So I knew it meant fear. It represents fear, and it's perfect because it's this woman that just woke up from a dream, a nightmare, and all these swords are hanging over her head. Did you notice the difference between knowing I would pull the Hierophant and this time, oh, what if I fail? To live your life that way is a nightmare, isn't it? There's always a sword hanging over our head. The greatest one, I could die. But once you live lucidly, you know you can't ultimately die. Yes, your loved ones will grieve you. But what awaits us beyond this is a loving reality from which we came. There's so much more. To live without knowing that is a nightmare. To live without trusting that we are an expression of the source is a nightmare. And I suddenly hearkened back to being in mediumship school in England. And I was taught about stepping into the power to do a reading. The power with a capital P. And I at first thought to step into the power means you step up in front of an audience and you give a reading like this. And I hope you can tell that's not my style. And I bombed the first time I tried it that way. And then once I was talked to in the middle of the night by my Susan, she said, Suzanne, you've learned what the power is. That sense of reverence you have when you connect with us, that's the power. Just use that. And the next day at the school, just stepping into this. And there they were, and doing a reading for the group. So after pulling the Nine of Swords, suddenly I knew that power is always here. And it's part of our journey to remember that, to harness that. And it's not this. It's this. And I looked down at those cards spread out on the bed, and with this utter certainty, I knew, as part of the fool's journey, that I was going to pull that Emperor card. And I took a leap of confidence, standing in the power. And I reached down and with no doubt turned it over. And I said, holy shit. And just like that, Joy said, no, holy shift. And that is my biggest lesson for all of you. We are that powered down for a little while, on purpose, for the experience, knowing it won't always be fun, knowing it won't always be easy, knowing sometimes it'll be hell, but knowing that at another level, all is well, always. And everything flows. And when we can learn to flow with it, we find the light again. That's lucid living. So join me on this journey, however you're called to. By yourself, as a community, as a team, just learn to make that shift from everything is separate to all one. When you learn to do that, then we've earned the world. Thank you so much.